Hello, and thank you so much for coming to my group orientation for Team Building Basics. Um, Thank you for watching the video. I'm sorry we couldn't see each other in person, but I just wanted to go through our orientation quickly to keep you up to speed so that when we meet for our next class with our dogs, that we will be all on the same page and ready to go. So, just a little bit about me. My name's Kathy, and I have been guiding dogs and their guardians for about 10 years, a little over 10 years. I'm certified through Catch Canine Trainers Academy, which is a school, a 2-year program that I chose rather than doing independent study. I'm also a member of Pet Professionals Guild and Force Free Trainers of Wisconsin. The reason why I chose both of these affiliations is because they are in alignment with my ethics, which is using only gentle science-based methods and no aversives, nothing that causes a dog to be in pain and fear, startle reflex, etc. Both of these affiliations, these organizations, will they will reach out to colleagues and clients to assure that we are following the ethic of force-free training methods. I am a Control Unleashed certified instructor, and you'll be seeing a lot of the Control Unleashed pattern games in our classes. Patterns are a very nice way to help dogs learn how to learn skills like sit, down, stay. They also are really great for walking skills, for disengagement. And so patterns are a way that dogs actually make sense of their environment. So it's a really nice organic way to guide our dogs. And I'm a family dog mediator. We'll get into that just a little bit, but family dog mediation is looking at the whole dog in a very spherical way, making sure that we are looking at all the needs of the dog and to gain a very well-rounded, balanced approach to guiding them. I'm a registered handler for Alliance of Therapy Dogs. One of my Alaskan Malamutes, Thunder, and we ran the pet therapy program at Watertown Hospital, where I work actually full-time right now. And I am a doggone safe dog bite prevention educator. And this is my shameless advertising because I do free talks for schools, for church groups, for family gatherings, for any place there's dogs, kids, and parents. I am free and available to come and talk. I have a really nice, fun, interactive presentation that helps kids learn how to be safe around dogs and helps parents understand what to look for to ensure the safety of both. So anybody you know that has kids in school, any schools looking or places looking to add to their repertoire, please send them my way. I am a master animal Reiki practitioner, and I'm also an end-of-life and grief doula for companion animals. I just wanted to quickly introduce my pack. Thunder, Luna, and Cree on the bottom right are all passed over, but they've been my best teachers and have taught me so much about how to guide dogs in a very organic and safe way that that really helped them all become a wonderful little family. And Indigo, who's on the top left, she is our rescue. We lost the last of our 3 dogs 2 years ago. And so we adopted Indigo, and she's been, again, one of my best teachers. So when I see you next time around and as we go through class, I'll be learning about you and your dog, what you love about your dog, some behaviors you want to understand better. Um, one thing you love about your dog's relationship with you, and also I'll learn what you would like to do to learn to make your relationship with them even better. That's something we'll talk about as we go, and I'm looking forward to learning more about you and your dog. So a little bit about the space that we're going to be having classes in at Lake Mills Veterinary Clinic. Be sure to use the side door. Um, the door in the side yard. So you go through the gate to the left of the building, pardon me, to the right of the building. When you get there, you'll see a gate to the right of the building. You go in that gate down the sidewalk, and there's a side door. You come in there and take a right, and we are in the lower area of the clinic. If your dog does happen to do a little sniffing around and goes potty, there'll be a container and some dog poop bags. Please pick up after your dog. And there are no dogs that should be meeting in the parking lot or in the yard. So we just want to make sure we keep our dogs separated. First class, we always do a staggered start. So I will take a look at our schedule and find out what time you would need to be there, and I will email that to you. And of course, while we're with our dogs, we don't have our cell phones on. So please silence your cell phone when you are out of your car. So what are we going to learn here today? We're going to learn about learning environment, genetics, and individual self, the LEGS model, considerations for the whole dog. We're going to learn what to bring to class, expectations of the class, special considerations like weather and call-ins. So I just wanted to, start our conversation with a little bit of the LEGS approach. So LEGS was created by Kim Brophy, who is an applied ethologist. Ethology is the study of animals in their natural environment and how that environment shapes those animals to become who they are. For example, when Jane Goodall studied the apes, and when scientists studied the finches of the Galapagos Islands and found that as the island split in two, finches on one island had different beaks than the other because of the food that they ate. So that's kind of an idea of what ethology is. So applied ethology is actually the study of animals under some control of humans and how those environments affect them. So that would be zoos, farms, our companion dogs. Understanding their dogs as they truly are, we look at the LEGS, the learning environment, genetics, and self. And that way we can learn who our dogs really are and how they navigate their world. And with this knowledge, we can guide them safely in a way that makes sense to them. So the learning from the interaction of nature and nurture. It's not nature or nurture, it's both, and it all matters. So how do dogs learn and adapt and live within their environment? So the LEGS helps assure that we are looking at all the different aspects and we address all the different aspects in order for the dog to feel safe, understood, and open to learn. So without acknowledging their unique learning environment, genetics, and individual self, we're missing a huge part of the picture. Without this why, we can't go forward and figure out how. With the knowledge of our dog's LEGS, we can guide them in the how in ways that address their individual needs. So let's take a look. So we're going to take it all into consideration. The L stands for learning. So what learning experiences did they have? What learning did they experience with training? What have they learned through socialization? Have they had negative experiences or positive ones? What associations and strategies has developed because of these experiences? And how does he view his world, past and present, and how do they relate to now? So this picture on the left-hand side with a golden retriever and her puppies, I put in here because this is actually where learning starts. If we have a balanced and calm mother, chances are that we might have balanced and calm puppies. Because when mothers are under stress, they will actually pass these stress hormones through the placenta to their puppy, and that increase of stress hormones such as adrenaline and cortisol, can actually change the structure of a puppy's brain and make the flight fight parts of the brain more prominent. So if you do decide you're going to adopt from a breeder, you want to make sure that you see the environment that the mom is living in and see that she looks well nourished and happy, because she's really going to be maybe your first indicator on how the puppies may grow. So then here we have a puppy that has got a smile on their face, happy in their learning, and this puppy perhaps is learning through some pretty scary methods. What kind of environment is your dog living in now, and did they live in? What are they experiencing now and in the past, as far as their environment goes? What external environment was your dog developed for, and do they have good relationships or negative ones with that external environment? And how is the dog being trained, and what tools do you use? For example, in this picture, if you have a dog that has a very hard time with stimuli and prefers a quieter environment, this particular environment is going to be really hard for that dog. Or you may have a dog that prefers closed-in areas and doesn't like the wide open spaces. A farm might be really hard for a dog to learn to live in. Rescues are amazing and shelters are amazing and the staff are just angels, but we have to recognize that dogs that are staying in a shelter environment have a lot of stress from living in that particular noisy type of environment, and we have to give them plenty of time to decompress when they come into our home. It's important to understand that if you are adopting a street dog, that these dogs would likely have a very hard time coming into houses and working with structure and routine, because street dogs are used to wandering, living where they want to live, going to the bathroom whenever they feel, eating when they want, when they find food. So when you bring a street dog into your home, there's a lot of affordances we have to give them to help them feel comfortable within our environment. And of course, how they're trained, the environments and the tools that are in that environment. So in our team building basics class, and actually all of Lake Mills Veterinary Clinic classes, we do not allow shock collars, we don't allow prong collars, we don't allow check chains, and we don't allow retractable leashes. While retractable leashes in themselves are not aversive or painful, they can malfunction, and then we can end up with dogs being in places we don't want them to be in class. So be sure you bring either a good cloth or leather 6-foot leash. So what kind of genetics are in your dog's DNA? What were they born to do naturally? And what is genetically meaningful and exciting to your dog? What behaviors was your dog born to do, and what does your dog need to be behaviorally and genetically fulfilled? This is important information to consider, and let's look at why. So many behavior issues are actually just our dogs doing what they're genetically predisposed to do. And while we can guide some of these behaviors by giving them acceptable outlets, we cannot stop them from happening. Each genetic group, of course, will have variables within the individual dog. However, we can't ignore what the genetics will likely bring to the table. So let's look at a few examples. Herding dogs. This genetic group is hardwired for doing the job independently. They will want to round up the sheep or the children or the bikes or the cars They are sensitive to sudden environmental changes and can be really wary of visitors in the home. If they're not fulfilled, they can become neurotic, anxious, and can show OCD type behaviors. So as you can see on the left is a border collie doing what border collies do. And on the right, we have a corgi who is a herding dog chasing after a child, which we don't want them to do. But in both cases, both of these dogs are doing what they're genetically hardwired to do. Guarding dogs will guard. They take their job seriously and they don't necessarily consider between the difference between friend and foe. If you've got a busy household with lots of visitors, your dog probably won't be the life of the party. And as a side note, German Shepherd dogs are considered in the herding genetic group as well as popular in the guarding dog group. Retrievers are going to retrieve. Retrievers will pick things up and carry them around, whether it's a duck, a slipper, or your remote control. They also take a long time to mature. They have what they call a Peter Pan complex. This neoteny, or eternal youth, helps the retriever happily and energetically spend his days working alongside his guardian in the fields. So if you want a gentle greeter, a calm companion, and a dog who will let you leave your possessions laying around, you may want to reconsider the retriever genetic group. And another thing quickly on genetics is, while we do have a range of how behavior presents itself, it's always wise for us to recognize that at any point in time, these genetic behaviors can come to the fore. And there are some of those behaviors, such as in the corgi chasing after the child, that we don't want to encourage and we don't want to happen. So we want to try as best we can to never let that pattern develop in the first place. So when we are adopting a dog that has a fairly solid genetic background, such as a purebred herding dog, a purebred hunting dog, we would be smart to acknowledge the fact that some of these things may at some point in time show themselves, and be proactive right at the get-go to make sure that the corgi never does chase the child. Because once that happens, what can happen in the brain is it flips a switch. It creates what we call modal action patterning, and that is basically the genetic switch gets flipped, and your dog goes, wow, this is what I was meant to do. This feels really, really good. And it's really hard to turn that switch off. We can maybe dampen it down a little bit, but it's hard, very hard, if not impossible, to turn it back off again. So that is why it is so important to consider genetics when you're looking at bringing a dog into the home. If you have children, if you have elderly, if you have a relaxed household where there's a lot of stuff laying around, those considerations can make a huge difference in a happy home or a stressed out house. So lastly, I want to look at the self. What kind of self is your dog experiencing as an individual? What preferences do they have that makes them unique? What internal conditions affect your dog? Your dog's age, their sex, their health, whether they're disabled, their nutrition, whether they have a disease or injury, all contributes to the individual self. However, if your dog ever has any sudden changes in behavior, be sure to reach out to your veterinarian to rule out a medical condition. But all of these things are just the little icing on the cake of who your dog really truly is. But I want to take a closer look at the component of self. When we look at age, dogs go through a lot of different developmental stages before they reach the age of 2 years old. So depending on what age your dog is, that can make a big difference on how the self can be considered with the whole dog. So puppy is birth to 3 months, and learning begins with lessons from the mother and litter mates, and then we take on that responsibility when they come home. This is the most important learning window in a dog's life. This is another reason why we don't want to bring puppies home from the breeder before ideally 10 weeks, because it takes time for them to learn their lessons from their mother and their litter mates. If they're brought home too early, they don't get those lessons, and then we can be playing catch up. With the juvenile, that's 3 to 6 months. Their genetic behaviors are starting to emerge. And by adolescence, it's 6 months to 14 plus months, depending on the dog. During adolescence, the brain is still developing, and communication between the thinking part of the brain, frontal cortex, and the emotional part of the brain, the amygdala, which are essential for learning skills, decreases during adolescence. And this explains why your dog may have forgotten everything they know. Their bodies are growing at different rates, and hormones are also adding to the mix of strange new feelings. So there's a lot going on in your adolescent dog, and this is the most common age when they're surrendered or rehomed, because it is a challenging age for dogs and their guardians. I always like to say that adolescence is a time for patience and not push. So I hope now that you see your furry family member with a deeper understanding of the complexities that go into who they truly are. I love this picture. So let's move on to the class information. That was just a real short version of the legs presentation that I do for pet partners. And if you want to dig in deeper, it's pretty cool stuff. Take a look at the 2026 Pet Partners schedule when it comes out shortly here in the beginning of the year. And mark your calendars and come on down. We have a lot of fun. So for class information, please arrive to your class at their scheduled start time. We want to avoid dogs meeting in doorways between classes. On the first class, you'll have staggered times so we can get you situated in your individual learning pod, and we'll get you there that first visit. So each team is going to have their own learning space. There's walls up. That way the dogs have there's your own pod. It's can be quieter. There's things in your pod that your dog can explore. And there's just barriers up that make everybody feel more comfortable. Again, pick up your dog and deposit the waste in the container. If you're outside, if your dog goes to the bathroom inside, we'll clean it up. And there is a bathroom in the clinic for you to use as well. We'll have soft music to create a calm learning environment for you and your dog. And please let me know if you have any food allergies, as sometimes people might bring peanut butter into class. If we find out you have a peanut allergy, we'll make sure not to. You and your dog will have your own individual pod. It's a calming space. And as classes progress, we'll adapt the environment to support the teams for continued learning. So we'll see how sometimes the walls never come down. Sometimes they do. We'll just see how classes go. So I just wanted to talk a little bit about training equipment. A buckle or martingale style collar are fine. And either way, these should fit with 2 fingers so that 2 fingers can fit parallel to your dog's neck under the collar. A martingale is good for dogs with thick necks. But these need to fit the same way. When the D rings are terminal, that's this ring here and this ring here. So when this piece is pulled tight and both of these rings are together, you should still be able to get 2 fingers parallel to the dog's neck under the collar, because these are not for choking. These are just for security. Again, we don't allow choke collars, prong collars, shock collars, or slip collars. 6-foot leash. No chain or retractable leashes, please. So cloth or leather. And I will guide you with this, but I prefer that my students use a U-grip. It's a lot more secure and it's easier on your fingers. Rather than at the bottom left-hand corner here, you can see this is just held with the fingers. And this is not a very secure way to hold onto a leash, because your fingers aren't anywhere near as strong as your wrist is. And if you use the U-grip, if you had to let go of the leash for your safety, you can just close your hands up in a fist and it slides right off. Please don't put the leash under your foot or sit on it. That makes me hyperventilate. If you need help holding the leash or getting something, let me know and we can hold the leash for you. Speaking of leashes, there are leash feelings that I like to talk about. Um, Leashes are a necessary evil. We need our leashes to keep our dogs safe. But dogs prevent or perceive a leash a whole lot differently than we do. And it's important for us to understand this. To a dog, a leash can leave them feeling trapped. Normally, when a dog is faced with concerning stimuli, they'll choose to run from it. But on a leash, the choice is taken away. And we have to keep an eye on our dogs. And if we see that they aren't feeling safe, we need to move them away from the area as quickly as possible. Failing to do so and forcing our dogs to stay in an environment that scares them could lead to defensive behavior such as lunging, barking, and snapping at the end of the leash. Fear and lack of environmental control is often the reason for leash frustration and leash aggression. And we see that showing up in the lunging and the barking and just general displays of aggression. And leash is the umbilical to you and your emotions. So for this reason, it's important to remain calm when you're with your dog on a leash. Tension, jerking, snapping, and other forms of steering don't help and only cause your dog to be more fearful. So we're actually going to be practicing some breathing and relaxation when we're in class, because it is important. If your dog is having a problem with self-regulation and is having some big feelings about other dogs or other triggers in the environment, it's important to get them away. But in the meantime, it's also important that we try and keep as calm as possible in that process. Harnesses and proper fitting. So I love harnesses, but they have to fit correctly. On the top here, you can see that on the left, this strap is way too tight and it's rubbing on the dog's armpit. Here, the chest strap is too loose and it's actually down around the dog's shoulder, or past the dog's shoulder joints, so this dog isn't able to take a full range of motion step with their front legs. So a good fitting harness comes up high in the chest, is far enough back that it doesn't dig into the pits, still has that 2 fingers, can go easily between the dog and the harness, and the girth strap is not in the elbows in the rib cage. So freedom harnesses and balance harnesses are good choices, and they're readily available. I know that they have freedom harnesses down at Pitter Patter Paws here in Watertown, and the staff is really helpful when it comes to fitting. So here, the Y front harness is a really great choice. Freedom harness, that's the next best choice. The balance harness is great because, as you can see, there's a clip here. You don't have to get a neck clip, but you can. So for dogs that have a problem with harnesses and things going over their head, this is a nice option. I do not like easy walks for that reason. As you can see, that the shoulder is completely tied down with this particular strap, and it's not the best for balanced walking and orthopedic soundness. Other items for class: a towel with a print or a design on it large enough for your dog to lay on. This is very important. It needs to be one that your dog's not used to seeing. We want it to be something new and novel. So you may have to run to secondhand store or find one that they haven't seen. The print is important because if we use a solid color, sometimes when we lay it on the floor, the dog has a hard time seeing it. So you definitely want it to have a print. A hard chew toy or a soft tug toy, and a soft tug toy. No squeakers, please. I like to have the squeaker, control the squeak of the squeakers if we're going to do some squeaking. A treat pouch or something like that. You can put things in like your sweatshirt pockets, but the idea is you want the treats to be really quick and easy to get to. I prefer treat pouches that are on the waist strap or waist belt, that comes with a waist belt that you can clip on, versus the ones that clip on a pocket. The ones that clip on a pocket, a lot of times you might end up with it falling off because it unclips. Bring a variety of dog treats. Zooks are great training treats, crunchy treats like kibble. Get some cheese, some chicken, fruits and veggies. If your dog likes those, but always consult your veterinarian regarding human foods added to your dog's diet. And you want to have something in that pouch that your dog finds is their $100 bill, because they're going to be working hard when they're in taking a class. They're doing really hard work. They're thinking and they need to be rewarded for that hard work. So bring something yummy and bring something that's kind of so-so. Feed less if class is going to be close to a meal. This way they're a little hungry when they come to class, but we want them peckish, not famished. So don't not feed them. Just feed them about 3/4 of their meal. Bring a stuffed topple or a smeared Kong or the like that's frozen in a Ziploc bag. Frozen helps make a long-lasting licking experience. And I definitely am specific when I say you can stuff a topple, but you need to smear a Kong. I would not stuff a Kong, because if the hole at the bottom gets plugged, your dog can create a negative suction with too much licking. And then if their tongue gets stuck in there, you have to go to the ER and they have to cut the Kong off. Whereas topples are similar to a Kong, but they're open at the top. And as a result, the dog can freely get to the food. And it's also great for dogs. Topples are great for dogs that have a lower frustration threshold. If they get frustrated really easy, sometimes that smaller hole at the top of a Kong is it makes it hard to get the food out, and that could be very frustrating for them. So instead of licking being a relaxing experience, it ends up being a stressful one. But licking, chewing, and sniffing are the three behaviors that if we give our dogs the opportunity to do that, that helps them relax and reduce stress. That's why we have these topples or Kongs at the end of a class. We give it to the dogs so that we can talk a little bit and they can relax. And then just have a bag or a backpack of something to put all of this in for class. So class is a safe space for both you and your dog to learn about each other. We'll use play to encourage our dogs to use their natural abilities to learn new behaviors, and we'll focus on building relationships with our dogs and learning the communication skills so we can safely guide them. Individual attention will be given to be sure our dogs stand on their own legs. So we're going to look at each dog as an individual. When our dogs are given choices and made to feel safe, learning happens. Just like us, if we're stressed, we don't retain what we're taught and we can't function at the best of our abilities. There'll be time for potty breaks. If your dog needs one, let me know. We'll make sure that everybody's secure, and then you can go out and there's going to be rest breaks throughout our class. It's okay to leave early if you and your dog are stressed. We can always touch base later. And if you need to leave the space for any reason, please let us know so that we can be sure that the area is secure before you step out. So this class is team building basics. What we're going to be focusing on, or what we're going to be learning, is helping our dogs to develop self-regulation, develop focus, make calm decision-making. This may look like sits, downs, standing still, calmly observing from a mat, or leisurely sniffing and exploring on walks, touching a hand and watch. And so this is more of a concept focus than a specific behavior focus. So when we ask our dog to sit or down or stand still, we're really asking for self-regulation. Can you regulate yourself to be still? When we ask them to calmly observe from a mat, we're asking them if they can focus. And then calm decision-making during walks, touching a hand and watch, is being calm enough to make decisions about how they are functioning within the environment. So while we have all these different behaviors that we want to address, if we look at the concepts of what these behaviors really are, then we can cover so much more ground in a shorter amount of time. And then it transcends into pretty much everything that your dog will do and what you do with your dog. So we're going to learn positive proximity to the guardian, and that will increase recall. We teach them that you're the best place to be, and concepts of stillness for the stay skill. We're also going to work on loose leash walking. There's going to be attention given to the juvenile and the adolescent, as this is a time when play style training and patience is really important. The body and the brain are going through so many changes, and hormones are affecting their emotions and movements. So it's common for dogs to seemingly forget everything they've learned. And adult dogs, they need guidance, that address their learning histories and their self. We'll focus on safe life skill development. First class is going to be noisy and it's going to be a bit uncomfortable, but that's okay. Don't be surprised if your dog forgets behaviors that they know at home. It's absolutely normal. A dog's learning is very specific because just because they can sit in a living room doesn't mean they can sit at class the first night. Because of this, or first day in this case, because of this, first class, the only thing we should be hearing is your marker word. So your marker word is the word that is the sound your dog hears when they get it right. We say yes, good boy, good girl, and lots of love and praise, no cues. And we use cues, not commands, because we're not in the army and our dogs aren't little soldiers. We'll focus on organic learning and allowing our dogs choices, but also supporting them by guiding them when they need it. This kind of life skill learning helps develop the neural pathways of the brain, and a thinking dog may be a more focused and confident dog. We'll use guidance styles such as shaping, luring, capturing, and play to help dogs learn, and then we'll add the cue after. So we always want to show our dog what we want them to do. Then when they practiced it a bit, then we'll put the cue on it. And then we keep practicing that. And then we take it to different places and we practice it. And then we just maintain it. We keep asking for those behaviors here and there every so often just to make sure that they haven't forgotten. So those are the 4 stages of learning. In that first stage, practice or showing them how to do it, which is fancy acquisition is the fancy word for it. That one takes a while. And then we do it in different places after we practiced it. And that's how we build a behavior. But it's a slow process. It shouldn't be rushed. And we have to make sure we get that base of our house built first before we start adding on the walls and the ceiling so it doesn't cave in on us. So how to get the most from your time here? Ask lots of questions. I guarantee other people have got the same ones. This helps everybody learn from each other, and sharing in class is very much encouraged. Do your homework, have all your items with you. Wear solid shoes, no flip-flops or sandals. Wear well-fitted clothing so you're not rolling up sleeves, tucking in shirts, loose dangly clothes like scarves will only get in the way. Once you get out of your car, no cell phones. Your attention needs to be on your dog. Wear a big smile and a positive attitude because this is all going to be fun. It may seem like it at times, but it will be fun. A marker word, that yes, good boy, good girl. A release word, that's a word that tells them that they're finished with the behavior, such as done or okay. And then words for the cues or for the behavior, words for cues for the behavior. So like, for example, does down mean get off or does down mean to lay down? Agree and write them down and put the words on the refrigerator is always a good thing if you have a family, and that way everyone knows the correct cues. If multiple people are in class, the one holding the leash is guiding the dog. Email me if you can't attend. If we're closing due to weather, general rule is if school or community activities are canceled, so is class. I will email you, but something will also go out on the Facebook page. And you can always call the vet clinic too if there's a question. Practice at home in small intervals, 5 to 10 minutes, several times a day. And also find ways to include guidance in your everyday, such as waiting for a sit before you open the door to go out on a walk, um, marking the behavior of your dog being still when you're cooking at the kitchen counter, things like that. And I'll help you find ways that you can sneak teaching into your everyday life. I always like to give the example that when we teach our children how to brush their teeth, we didn't stand them up in front of the sink and say, brush your teeth 5 times a day. We did it when they woke up in the morning, as a routine when they went to bed at night, as a routine after they ate. So we kind of built it into their day to day. And that's really the easiest way for both you and your dog to learn the life skills together. Speak softly and with confidence and use cues only once. Avoid overusing your dog's name as well. If your dog needs more support for attention, use a kissing sound or a smoochie. So we're not repeating. The more we repeat and we throw at our dogs, especially in class and especially at the beginning when it's also confusing for them, it's just going to make what we say background noise because they're not going to be able to actually understand us. Your tone of voice, pitch, volume, and tempo are very important in what you're conveying. Think of riding a horse. If you want them to move, we say, giddy up in a high, loud pitch in a quick tone. When we want them to slow down, we use a slow, soft, whoa. So how we are around our dogs is more important than what we say. Our bodies are naturally programmed for what we call co-regulation. Any being that has a limbic system, neurobiology, is able to co-regulate. And what that means is that if one nervous system is in high anxiety and another nervous system is calm, that high anxiety nervous system has the ability to reach out and actually downregulate to a calmer state because of that other nervous system being that way. But if your dog's anxious and you're anxious, then we're not helping each other out at all. So in order to really help our dogs, the calmer we can be, breathing deeply, talking softly, moving slowly, the better it'll be for our dog, and they'll be able to actually count on us to be their safety, their emotional support human when they're in times of stress. So we'll guide you on your mechanics on because how you sound, smell, move, and feel are more important than any cue your dog will learn. So if you're sick, please call or text to let me know. We can arrange for a virtual class if you'll miss more than one lesson. If your dog's not well or has had surgery, or if they just aren't feeling up to class, you can still come. I am actually here teaching you so that you can teach your dog. I just get to play with your dog. So I'm mostly teaching you. So if you can't make it for whatever, if your dog can't make it for some reason, if they're sick, they said had surgery, possibly in heat, whatever it is, just let me know. But you can still come to class. You'll receive handouts at the end of every class. Sometimes it'll be in person. Sometimes I'll email them to you. So a few no-nos: no yelling, hitting, jerking, kneeing, pushing, or intimidating your dog is never allowed. No letting your dog go to another dog unless instructed by the teacher. And no judging ourselves. We all learn in different ways, and each person will progress differently in class. Each dog will progress differently in class, and that is absolutely perfect. We will work with the dog that shows up every day when we come to class, and that dog will be perfect, and we will work with them without any judgment. from ourselves or from anyone else. And anything that you have done to help train your dog up to this point is all good. We all learn and teach in different ways. So it's all good. So we want to leave that judgment at the door. So now your homework for this week is when you get to your next class, you'll get breathing and relaxation, dog bite education, dog advocacy, dog body language, along with the PowerPoint presentation, and you also get a handout of your dog's genetic group. The fact that you're watching this means that you won't get these handouts till next week, and that's just fine. That's not a problem. I'll include a link with a short body language presentation for you to watch, and look for the arrival of that in your and then also look out for your arrival time in your email, because we're going to have that staggered start that first week with pups. I always like to say, look up your breed on Wikipedia and find out about your dog. What specifically in history is the history of the breed, and learn what the dog was born to do. And then for a little extra credit, be prepared to share any interesting facts you find out in class, because it's always fun for us to hear about it. So your homework though this week is going to be every day do Smart 50. And this on this screen is what Smart 50 is. You take 50 tiny treats, part of your dog's daily cable ration is fine. It doesn't have to be full 50, but at least 25, and put them in a cup, and then just watch your dog. And every time your dog does something that you like sitting quietly, laying down, walking up to you and not jumping up and down when you're chopping vegetables at the counter, laying down, doing nothing, that is super important. Give them a treat. And the idea is you want to get rid of the 25 to 50 treats every day. This is a way to create a proactive mindset with your dog. As humans, we are so used to mitigating the negative things that go wrong and waiting for those to happen that it's really hard for us to change our mindset and actually look for all the positive stuff and reward and support that. Be calm and soft, and speak softly when you deliver the food reward. And if you don't have a food reward right there, that's okay too. I mean, especially if your dog is doing nothing. If they're just laying there, looking out the window, or laying there on the couch quietly, then it's just like a very soft, good boy. That's so quiet. And if you say that over and over and over again, when you see your dog quiet, eventually quiet becomes a cue. So that is capturing. Like I said, we use different ways to help our dogs understand what we want, or the behavior that we're asking for. One of them is luring, and you've all seen it where you take a treat and you hold it up above your dog's nose, and they reach up with their nose to get the treat and smell the treat, and their butt goes down, and then we call that a sit. That's luring, and we do some luring. We also do some shaping, but very little. Shaping is where you mark every little step towards a behavior. And that's a lot of times that's a little bit more involved. So there's not too often that we do that. But what we do most of all in class is capturing. So when your dog is doing something that we want them to do, we mark that right away by calling it what it is. So when your dog puts their butt down on the ground, we call that a sit. And every time the dog's butt hits the ground, we say sit. And we have to be very specific about it. We want to make sure that we're not saying sit until the butt is on the ground. And then we say, sit, good boy, give them a treat. But that is next class. I just wanted to explain that part. So do the Smart 50 this week. And then I will send you an email with with the dog body language video and your arrival time. And if you have any questions, you do have my email. So feel free to reach out and email me with any questions before next week. So thank you very much for taking the time to watch this. And I look forward to meeting you and your dog at our class next week.